Hey everyone, welcome to the shop. This is all pretty new for me, but I try to give it a best try. We're going to be doing an unboxing video today. I just finally picked up another planer to replace my old one, which had done its job. It was a cheap Canadian Tire jobby. Picked it up on sale, probably $3.50 range. It's served its purpose. But it's getting a little bit rough now to try to keep up. So anyway, we went to Busy Bee on the weekend, picked up their new Helical 13-inch, so I'm going to be doing an unboxing video of that today. Hope it's informative. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments. I'd be more than happy to answer anything you have. And let's get on to the unboxing. Let's open here. See what we got. Instruction booklet. We will take a look at that later. I know we're not supposed to, being a real man and all, but we will take a peek. Packed pretty well. You may want to have some help with this if you have bad back. It's pretty solid. Okay, let me get this out of there somewhere higher. We can get a closer look at it here. Alright. Okay. Alrighty. Here's what we got. Ooh, silica packs. Enough of those. There we go. Alright, so we've got a dust port adapter, 4 to 2.5. Oddly I prefer the 2.5 inch. I kind of use I use the dust collection mainly for saws and sanders, but I find other people may agree with me on this, but I find using it on a planer it just clogs up, mainly because I have my lines running across the ceiling. The crank handle. We have our dust port assembly as well. I'm assuming this is the wrench here. Assuming this is the guy here for the helical changing. We'll soon learn that. Maybe. Quality check here. Busy Bee. It's always neat that these are still, I know it's silly, but the fact that a human fills this out in pen, oddly enough, for some reason to me is somewhat satisfying. On the other side here. Okay, so we have a warning in here saying to mount the desk lid before we use it, which is probably good advice. Hopefully this comes out right and not flipped. I think that's probably some solid advice. Here we actually have the helicals showing here. It looks like they're all in the same position, which is awesome. Let's get this crank in. Apologize, this is probably not very exciting while I put this Allen key in, but it is necessary. There we go. Beautiful. Alright, so we've got our exposed helical heads here. I'm assuming that is some kind of event, but I'm trying to find that out. We gotta mount this. Oh yeah, I would say so. So there's the little vents here, and I'm assuming that basically goes directly over that guy. So looks pretty straightforward. Two little knobs here, 1 and 2. They're actually pretty nice. It's like a kind of like a rubberized coating over plastic, which is, you know, that's a nice touch. Not necessary for sure, but a nice touch. It looks like this shroud pretty much just slides in place. Alright, we got her threaded in finally. I was about ready to give up and make an edit here. It's starting to get a little embarrassing. Okay. That's what's on. Tools are part of it, that's great. Look at this guy brought up a little bit so we get these foam blocks out. We got a straight edge in here too. Take her right up to the top here. Alright. Looking pretty good now. I want to turn around. So you can see the front instead of looking at the back of it. So I'm sure it's more interesting to look at the front. There we go. Cord undone here. Nice heavy cord, which is great. Okay. Now the question is, fleas and germs. Should we try to level it up first, or should I just stick a board through and see what happens? That's always the question I ask myself. Don't really want to waste anything good. I've got a pile of maple, some walnut, and some cherry. Cherry's live edge. I don't want to rest of that. Let's get a straight edge and just see how it looks. So what I'm going to do is just take a standard straight edge. This is an old guide that I've had. I swear I've probably had this for almost 20 years, that I got when I was a teenager working as a carpenter. We're just going to lay it across the center and both decks and see how it looks. Now, it actually looks like the tables are a slight smidge higher than the deck. Right there, it's tough because of the reflection. The reflection kind of makes it a little trickier. Let's try the old flashlight on the phone trick here. Actually, yeah, I think it is a reflection. So I gotta admit, that looks pretty decent right from the get-go. Like, I think it's worth trying a few boards, seeing what happens, and then we'll reassess from there, and if it comes out poor. Now the issue I'm gonna have is I don't really have a table for this. I got rid of all my extra tool stands because I wasn't using them. So that would lead me to probably want to use the stand for my other one, which I think may just fit. I'm sure all of you are related to this tape measure search. So it's about 14 inches. And this guy's only a foot across. So as you can see over here by all the foam that I just threw out of the way. So here's the old guy here. So you can see what I ended up doing is out of the way here. The trick I use, which I'll be honest, I would recommend to anybody that until you can afford something better. This is the ugly blue that for some reason Canadian Tire chose for their tools, which I find, I don't know if they were looking at Ryobi. Instead of Ryobi, you can do a weird green yellow, we can do a weird blue. I find this makes all their stuff look cheaper than it really should, because they do make okay tools, honestly, for people starting out. But I mean, just make black tools or something, or I don't know, I just find that this blue doesn't help. Anyway, not why we're here, is it? So yeah, so if you have a cheaper planer, like this one, like the starter Grizzlies, the starter, any of those kind of starter tools that we all seem to get, even if the jet ones you find on Amazon. Putting a melamine shelf through it that actually sticks out. I think I used a 2-foot shelf here, but honestly you can go longer. That actually helped me kind of keep the snipe a little bit more under control. I still have a lot of issues with snipe in this one. Probably the first 3 inches of the board that it was worse before I did this, but partially I had it bent out of the box. It was bent, but it's like once you get the tool set up, you don't want to go through the trouble returning it. So, but anyway, so yeah, for you guys starting out and you're having issues with snipe, I would really recommend this is to me the simplest fix. And I think I came up through the back deck and just put 2 screws to hold it in, so it's actually loose on this side, but on the back side it's actually held down. Super cheap fix. And you can actually even put a layer of wax on this if you want to keep the board sliding. I've never had to. I find it works pretty well, because the dust on it almost works like lubrication. And I've been using this probably for over a year, really out of any issues. My only issues is with the 3 blades, depending on the wood, which I use a lot of maple and I use a lot of live edge stuff. And live edge usually means knots. I'm hoping the Helical will help me out with getting so many chips and so much tear out happening, which I've been getting a lot of. I mainly do cutting boards, so I'm sure as any of you can attest, it's going through this, a lot of tear out through Purple Heart and that kind of stuff in the middle of the board. So you go through all the trouble of planing it, gluing it, and then when you go to the final bit of planing and you end up tearing it all to pieces tearing that center piece all to crap, it really does kind of makes you lose your spirit. Yeah, so let's pause here. I'll get something to put this planer on other than a box, because it doesn't seem like probably the safest thing to start with. We'll run a few boards through, as noisy as that's going to be, but let's check it out and see what we get. Okay, I don't have a stand, I've realized. I'm going to have to probably modify the old one to fit this guy. That's okay. First impressions, I guess. I really dig the rollers up top. It's definitely a plus. I don't do a lot of passing back and forth because I typically am always working alone. I'm sure a lot of you guys are in the same boat. Although I found with the other planer I had, with the Mastercraft planer, it had kind of that, baked aluminum, kind of like the poured aluminum kind of thing. I'm trying to think of the word, cast aluminum, there's the word. And that one, if you were actually sliding boards across it, it would actually leave black marks on it. So I put painter's tape on the top to solve that problem. Again, not a very elegant solution, but a solution. This one has rollers, so I'm hoping that'll kind of solve that problem. They may be worse, they may be better. We'll soon find that out, I guess. Other thing right away, it's definitely quieter. I have a helical joiner, and I noticed that right away as well, even without wood running through it. So just a noise example. It honestly sounds pretty similar to a vacuum. Which to me that is plus. Just argument's sake, the old guy here, so we can get a comparison. Maybe they're pretty similar. Anyway, we'll get back to this guy. Okay. Now, things of note, I guess. This is a 2-speed, which I'm pretty excited to try out. Especially, working with live edge lumber, and some of the live edge lumber is cut, that I've cut myself or had someone give to me. It's pretty rough and very often bent, so truthfully I really would like to just speed through in the beginning until I get down to closer to the thickness I need. So being able to run this at a faster rate to me is a huge bonus. I'm hoping it works well. I've never owned a DeWalt to compare to. It also has a little meter here, which is very cool as well. I'm definitely interested to see how well it's going to work. I'm trying to see what I have nearby that I could run through with. It's not an extreme length. Probably try a chunk of maple. I've got 8-foot pieces of maple. I have to kind of chop it up first. So I have some off there. Yeah. Let's put some hard maple through it. Yeah, let's cut up a wide one. Okay, one of the other features, I don't know if I've mentioned, but it actually has a depth stop down here too, which would be very handy for people doing repeatable cuts. If you always want all your pieces to end in 1 inch, you kind of have a place you could go from. It's going to be interesting doing this. The one thing with adding a shelf to your planer, like I've done with the other one, is it sets your measurements off. So this should actually be reasonably accurate for once. Get her down to 1 inch here. Gripping television, I'm sure. All right. Okay. Should be good. I'm going to have to turn on the vacuum here to set us up. Okay, so that was, geez, I'm trying to remember, 4 passes I think on one side and 3 on the other. Finish is good, really good. I'm just trying to feel, I guess, as someone who's never really used helical stuff, your fear is always that there's going to be visible lines, that there's going to be some weird issue where the spacing is not correct or something between the heads and you're going to get these lines going down. I will say I don't feel anything really line-wise, which is nice. Honestly, the finish is pretty decent, coming right out of a planer. This is quite hard maple, so it can be hit or miss because it's one of those things. The chip is pretty bad. Interestingly enough, the snipe doesn't seem all that bad. I'm trying to get in the way here so the light's good. The snipe doesn't seem bad at all on the infeed piece. So this was going in this direction. So there's actually 0 snipe there. Nothing I can see and definitely nothing I can feel. So that would be glue-wise perfect. Strangely though, on the backside and out, there is a snipe line, and it's pretty much where you would expect it to be. I'll see if I can get in the line here. Now, I don't know if there's a way that the camera's going to see that, but you can kind of see the ridge. So there is this little bump there. It's actually not very deep. Like, it would be, honestly, be pretty easily sanded away if it came down to that. It'd be too big that I would never leave it for a glue line myself. That's not necessarily a tool issue, is that I haven't done any adjustments, so I may actually need to adjust the tables. And because this isn't a perfect test in the sense that this thing's sitting on a cardboard box with a piece of plywood as well. So it's a little lower than I would normally have pulling stock out, so there's a very strong chance that I'm lifting this as I take it out. But first impression's great. Wood-wise, yeah, I'm pretty pleased. Very clean. Like very, very clean. I'm really interested to see how it's going to handle boards that I would typically have tear out on, because that's probably what I'm most interested in. So fully glued up boards, I think, is going to be the real test of this. Sadly, I don't have any that are in a rough state. I've got some finished boards that are ready to be sanded, but nothing in the rough state enough to do a plane to it. So this guy's side. Yeah, that's really impressive. Admittedly, I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm going to back up a little bit here. So as far as the workings go, the only issue that I can really notice, and you can kind of see, is I've got a lot of chip blowout specifically on one side. And again, I don't know if that is due to design or if I'm now we get no clogging whatsoever. So the vacuum's doing its job, but it doesn't seem to be pulling the chips. The chips are blowing back, which typically in my other planer was always a sign that, either the vacuum was full or you got a clog. So I've got quite a bit of chips there. So for some reason, those aren't making it to the exhaust. Not a huge deal, as long as it doesn't get in the way. And my fear with that typically is that it does make a bit of a mess, I guess. And if you're trying to keep your dust down, that's not that much fun. Yeah, it seems to be only at the front, strangely. So, but while we're at it, I guess that's one of the issues they say is that this is supposed to be better for dust collection because it does make smaller chips than that. I definitely find there's a big difference in. Now, typically with hard maple like that's kiln dried hard maple, just a 4x4 hard maple 9-foot lengths. That would normally be pretty big curls off of a 3-blade planer. But this is pretty much powder. So this actually, there's a good chance actually my dust collector, which isn't all that heavy duty, would actually maybe be able to do this. There is always that possibility. So that's positive in that sense that maybe it could actually use dust collection. I can vacuum this up for now. But if I was I've got a load of boards here, which I guess you can kind of see in frame around here. There's 30 board feet there, 40 board feet. So if I was doing all that, it would make quite a big mess, I'm guessing. So I'll see if it's something that, if it's an adjustment that I can make, something's clogging the way. But if not, it is what it is. If the boards come out that smooth and means less sanding paper, I would take it, because I'd much honestly rather plane most of the time than I would sand. I'm sure most of you would agree with that. I'm just going to bring the heads up here a little bit so we can get a look at the inside. We're going to do an inside look, so I'm going to hopefully be able to edit this together properly to make it worthwhile. I've actually set my iPhone inside, which let's hope we don't screw up and accidentally grind this, just so you can get a look at the helical head. So I'll hopefully edit that in. So here's high speed. Let that comment. Please, for the love of everything, don't put your hands in here like I'm doing. I think the difference here is the roller speed, so I'm going to move that back and we'll show you. So this is high speed with the rollers, and then I'll switch it to low speed partway through. Cool. Overall thoughts. It's pretty good. Obviously this isn't a pro planer for a large shop. I'm like a lot of you guys that are out there, one guy working in my very overcrowded and dirty garage, doing nights and weekends, doing craft sales, you know, a few a year, nothing. This is not my living. I wish it was, but like all of us have to face facts, it's not. So this really is a great planer for us. You know, it's a very good finish. Obviously the warranty helps. It's 3-year warranty, which I find with most stuff that, you know, in the beginner, let's say under $1,000 kind of planers, the majority of those I usually have a 1-year warranty. Admittedly, I was pretty close to buying the DeWalt, even as far as when I was in the store, literally staring at the two of them and kind of like A-Bing them and going back and forth while my kids waited in the car. You know, it's hard to always pull the trigger because, again, you know, I'm trying not to put my own money into these tools. I try to, you know, build stuff, sell stuff, money goes back into tools, and then slowly, over the years, you know, you slowly build up a shop with tools that are, you know, making your job a little bit easier. And I mean, it's tough, you know, we're competing against guys that have CNCs and have, you know, drum sanders and all this sort of stuff. But you know what, that's part of the love of this, is that you kind of make do with what you got at the time. So for me, I started with a table saw only, you know, and those cordless Ryobi things, tools that I've had for years. The original blue Ryobis before they switched over to the yellowish green. So you start where you can, and that's kind of what I've done. So I started with a, you know, on sale $300 planer from Canadian Tire. I think it was $350 on sale. I think at the time I used 3/4 of the amount I covered with Canadian Tire money, which I had saved up. This is probably very foreign to anyone that's watching this outside of Canada, but you know, it's a store that has housewares, tires, and tools, and their own line of tools called Mastercraft. But when you buy things there, you actually get a percentage back in their own quote-unquote money, which is a great way, you know, for us husbands out there. You can kind of set a little money aside, and as it accumulates, you can buy a few tools with it. So that's kind of what I try to do. So I use that for the original, when I first started making charcuterie boards, which were made from an apple tree that we actually took down in our yard. We had 2 trees we cut down, got some good lengths out of it. And admittedly, that was surprisingly hard wood. I didn't realize that apple was that hard. So the planer really did get put through its paces. For a $300 planer, I mean, it really doesn't owe me anything. And then I had a job doing shelves, which I'd taken a 3-inch live edge pine and had to get it down to 1 inch. And I don't have any saw big enough to do resawing here. So sadly, when put in that position, the only really thing I could do was cut them to the basic sizes and then literally plane them until I got them down to the proper thickness, which I know was terrible. Taking a 3-inch board and getting it down to, I think it ended up at a 1 1/4 was the final. Everything else was wood chips. Now they were good wood chips, so they go down to our chicken coop, so they didn't go to complete waste, but they are being crapped on by chickens, so it's probably not the best use of beautiful pine. My apologies to London Lumber, that local lumber guys, that you know, it seems like a waste to use a tabletop size piece of pine for that. Anywho, So the planer, yeah, I mean, I think was $700 plus tax Canadian, so $840-ish probably all told, everything in, taxes and all. So for something like that, moving up to a helical, that's to me a pretty reasonable investment. Even the speeds is pretty reasonable investment. I did a lot of research on the DeWalt. The downside, of course, and the main reason, honestly, that I started to film this video, I couldn't find anything online on this one. This is their new 13-inch one. The model number is CX13HC. It actually doesn't have the model printed on the case as it does in the photos. If you look at the website of BusyBee. A lot of back and forth researching, and honestly, then I was pretty much decided, I think, on the DeWalt because it's what I see everywhere. You know, you go on Facebook, you know, I'm on a cutting board group. You go onto that group, everybody seems to be using these things, and right up to the last second, I was pretty much set on the DeWalt, mainly because I thought, well, here's the one that everyone uses. Even though it's pretty much the same cost as this one, I can go helical down the road with it. You know, mind you, in Canada, that's about another $700. So basically, the price again of the full machine to put a helical head on it. But I think when it came right down to the push, you know, when it was time to actually buy something, I thought, you know, I'll just buy this one. Again, there's not a lot of reviews. I'm kind of going by gut on this one. Buy this one, already has a helical head. Put it through its paces. It's got a 3-year warranty. I can rotate the head, so basically I have 4 sets of blades, quote unquote, because, you know, I can rotate the cutters inside to 4 different sides. So the life I'll get out of that, hopefully, you know, will be worthwhile. I think they're only high-speed steel. Obviously, carbide would be a much nicer thing. But again, I understand it's all about keeping the costs sub 1,000. I think it's probably their goal. So I get it that it's high-speed steel and not carbide. Down the road, maybe I'll put carbide on it. So I think for now, this is probably a logical next step for someone my size. Not my size, but shop size. Hopefully, after this one, maybe, hey, if I sell enough boards, I can work my way up to a drum sander. Then at that point, this would really be just for getting ready for glue ups, you know, and then the final parts will be done with drum sander anyway, so I wouldn't be as picky with having such a smooth finish. But right now, where I'm pretty much depending on this thing to get me to that kind of final after glue up, again, using what I got, I don't have the best clamp, so I find I get a lot of movement. So when the time comes, I actually do have to plane a fair bit. So I'm making boards starting with about a 2-inch slice, and I'm finishing them at about 1 3/4 inches typically. Sometimes down to 1.5 inches. So I'm losing that in trying to basically get that board flat after I've done those original glue up. So there is a lot of waste, and I'm guessing that we all have that problem in small shops, that we're wasting probably more than we would like to, but it just seems to be par for the game for what we're doing in the size of shops we have. You know, again, as we get better tools, I'm sure we can all improve on it. Yeah, so overall, I guess, you know, for saying thumbs up, I'd give it 2 thumbs up. I'd probably give it a, you know, 4 out of 5 overall, 9 out of 10. I know those aren't all equal things, but for a starter guy, I think this is probably the right way to go. I think you can save $100 and get the 12.5 inch one that they have, like the older version. The difference of that being is that there is no 2 speeds, there's no depth stop. So a few little things. For me, the extra $100 was worth it, even though I know it's only 1/2 inch wider. But for me, the 2-speed thing was actually probably more of what was interesting to me. I do smaller projects, so I haven't had the issue really where I've run out of space. I usually typically turn down projects over a foot if someone wants a tabletop. I just don't have the tools for it. So I think it's, you know, this is kind of a good step for us guys that are starting out. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much in this video. This, again, is the first time for me doing this. I'm hoping to do a lot more. I typically would do more videos of, you know, turning a bowl, that sort of thing. So my plan is going forward, I'll do a few more videos. I'm going to do a little tour of the shop, as you can see in the background here. Again, I'm going backwards, but I set up a dust collection system. You know, again, this is all stuff in my shop is pretty much for the regular guy that doesn't have a whole lot of money. You can't just go out and, you know, buy $10,000, $20,000 in tools. We're all kind of starting small and working our way up. So that's what I've done. Basically everything I've put in the shop at this point has either been from music gigs. I play in a band on the side, so my original saw and things were done all through gig money, which kind of got me going. That was sort of the seed cash. And then from that point on, it's been really just doing cutting boards, charcuterie boards, a couple of custom jobs, nothing major. And then now the challenge has been is how do I use up what I have left? So I've been starting to actually trying to get creative in how to use up stuff that's left over from making larger cutting boards. So started to get into business card holders, incense burners, things like that, things I can use up instead of just having stuff sitting in piles of cutoffs. So hopefully, we'll slowly improve on what we got. Anyway, thank you for watching. If this is the kind of stuff you like, please, I invite you to subscribe. Again, I'm just starting this out, so hopefully it's stuff you enjoy, and take care. Thanks.